Signs of a tyrant man. How to behave if you have a tyrant man? In this video, we will talk about who a tyrant is and what to do about it. So let's get started. Who is a tyrant? A tyrant is a person who has violently seized power in the family. You want to be heard, you want to have a voice, you want to make some decisions, you want to resolve something, but deep down you understand that you are not allowed to do any of this. Otherwise, there will be some consequences, there will be emotional punishments, and possibly even physical punishments. And so you adhere to a clearly defined line regarding the points indicated by the man, so you are experiencing a kind of domestroy. Now let's talk about the signs that indicate you are with a tyrant man, and then we will discuss what to do about such relationships. The first sign is that he controls absolutely everything. Absolutely everything that concerns you also concerns him. He chooses how you will look, meaning your appearance, manicure, makeup, your dresses, and your shoes. At some point, you start to feel like you are losing yourself. You have forgotten what you like. You are already doing exactly what your man wants. And he will use different phrases to manipulate you. He will say that you want to please him and so on. At some point, the woman simply loses herself, loses her interests and preferences. She starts doing everything the way the tyrant man demands. Further, total control over the wife, over his partner. That is, he knows where you are, what time you will return, when you are late, and why you are late. You understand that you need to report on every step you take. That is, if you haven't warned someone that you are running late, there will be consequences again. The consequences can be some sort of punishments, deprivations, emotional punishments. Some may even experience physical punishments. Furthermore, you feel as if you are being deprived of your own view of life, as if your life is being taken away, meaning there is a feeling inside that you are starting to live not your own life, but someone else's. You are like a little child for whom everything is decided and you are no longer allowed to choose anything in your life. Next, he respects no one, but demands respect for himself. Here, the man often relies on force. That is, if he is feared, it means he is respected. And this is the motto of a tyrant man. He may have even repeated this phrase to you. And if you try to say something about your interests and preferences somewhere and at some point you become scared to speak. That is, fear is the first indicator that you are in an abusive relationship. We can experience a range of feelings in healthy relationships, but if certain feelings are constant, meaning you are afraid to talk about your emotions, your feelings, you are afraid of punishments, you are afraid that your tyrant man will react inappropriately. But you want to talk, you want to live your life. This is what abusive relationships are. Relationships in which you lose yourself. Furthermore, they demand accountability from you. You have no personal space as such, meaning that it could be any kind of accountability, such as where you spent money, where you were, why you need to meet with friends, and so on. That is, you need to report on every step you take, on every action you perform. Next. Personal space and time for yourself are things that will not exist in your relationship. The tyrant man will talk to you about this. What does personal space mean? Even if you mention this phrase somewhere and say that you need time, for example, to communicate with friends, to recharge that very feminine energy, to exchange some emotions and impressions, the tyrant man will have one question. Why? Why do you need this? Your friends are bad. They teach you bad things. Look at them. They are all unhappy, and they will make you just as unhappy. Mom, don't go to mom. She teaches you bad things. The neighbor, she has a bad influence on you, and so on. Time for yourself, for communicating with friends, and personal boundaries are things you will never have in a relationship with a tyrant man. No to friends, I have already said this, and family is also off limits. And the tyrant man will start trying to pressure little by little. At the very beginning of the relationship, he will first start talking. When you talk to your family and friends, he will gradually point out some negative aspects and then inflate them more and more in order to cut off all your communication so that you find yourself completely under his control. Alone, without any support, without any advice, without any other communication. You are alone in the hands of a tyrant, and he wants to have complete power because power is very important to the tyrant. He wants to have complete power over you in order to control your life so that you don't go anywhere and so on. That is, there may be many different aspects, but the tyrant always deprives their victim of personal life in order to control them better. Moving on. Does not compromise. The person will never compromise. They only think about how good it will be for them. If you notice that in certain moments when some arguments arise, you might be holding back, afraid to talk about something, but then you can't take it anymore and a conflict occurs, and in the end you apologize, having to go and apologize in order to mend the relationship, it means he never compromises. He never apologizes. He will never say he was wrong. He will never acknowledge his mistakes either, the way he said it or not at all. Moving on. Obsessed with themselves. That is, if you see that conversations revolve around them, about their experiences, their thoughts, their work, about everything, and it feels like you are not present in your own life, then they are the center of the universe. They have created it this way. Yes, they may ask you something, but it feels like it is unimportant in your relationship. And you feel as if you are unimportant in your relationship. The main thing is that he is doing well. His worries, his thoughts, his well-being, his preferences, his tastes are what matter most. If you understand that this is happening in your relationship, it means you are in a relationship with an abuser tyrant. So what should you do if you find yourself in such a relationship? And first, assess your safety, because a tyrant can manifest in different ways. If this is an emotional, psychological tyrant, they will pressure you emotionally and psychologically, gradually destroying your self-esteem and belief in yourself. Victims of veterans who emotionally and psychologically torment them destroy their self-esteem and belief in themselves. A woman stops believing in herself entirely. She no longer sees her own value and loses herself to the point where she fears losing such a man because she thinks she will never be needed by anyone, feeling completely worthless. And this is what a woman and a tyrant do. But the tyrant can also manifest in physical aggression. And if you realize that you are afraid to talk about something because he might hit, hurt, or choke you, 3 red flags of a tyrant which can be used to identify them at the very beginning of a relationship. That is, a person who will raise their hand if at some point you displease them and they pull you sharply. When they seem calm at one moment and then suddenly raise their voice, they start shouting in a way that scares you. This is the 2nd red flag. And the 3rd, when he is suffocating you, meaning this could be in jest, or he might have gotten angry and pressed you against the wall, well, grabbed you by the throat. These 3 red flags are moments that indicate that a man is likely to raise his hand in the future, meaning that at some point he will allow himself to do so. So, to begin with, it is necessary to assess your safety and base your actions on that. If you understand that being with a person is unsafe, then you need to find trusted individuals. Think through a plan of action, a plan for how you will leave. Because leaving a tyrant who physically abuses a woman is always very difficult and is actually dangerous, as various events can occur. Therefore, a plan is necessary, and you need help from some trusted people who can, for example, assist you when he goes to work, help you gather your things, help you leave somewhere, or hide you. Help you change your phone number so that he doesn't know about you for some time. In other words, you should have a retreat plan. But if things are not really that scary, not that dangerous, and you understand that you love this person, but you don't like the relationship and the abuse is actually psychological and emotional, and you want to do something about it, then you need to learn to establish your boundaries. First, you must define those boundaries. That is, to understand what is acceptable for you and what is not. It is very difficult to learn to hear yourself again when you have already forgotten, but try to catch your emotions and feelings. Here is a man telling you to do something, and you don't want to do it. Try to talk about what you do not want. Learn to set your boundaries. And yes, at some point the man will react. He will try to pressure you, but when he sees that it's either this way or not at all, it is quite possible that at some point he will accept the new rules of the game. Moving on. What is acceptable for you and what is not? Be sure to think about this. You can write it down on a piece of paper. When you write, it is actually a kind of therapy. Very often, thoughts in our heads rush by at great speed and we fail to catch something valuable and important. So try to write. Try to write down what is important to you, what is valuable to you, what is acceptable to you, and what is unacceptable to you. And learn to stand up for these points. If you want to maintain the relationship, I will repeat once more. If this relationship is with a tyrant, when he does not raise his hand, meaning when he is trying to influence you emotionally and psychologically. Furthermore, if it is safe for you, meaning again, if the man does not raise his hand, maintain external connections That is, a tyrant will try to cut you off from the whole world so that you are completely submissive. He doesn't want to share you as if with someone else. He wants to have power over you alone. So don't lose yourself. It is through communication with other people that you will understand what you want and what you do not want. That is, you will not lose your taste for life, and thus you will be defending your boundaries. He will understand that. For example, you will not be giving up your friends or relatives. Furthermore, seek help from a professional. If you realize that you can no longer cope with this situation, it is better to turn to people who can help you in this difficult time. That is, they will help guide you to places you may not even be looking in, the direction you really need to look. Moving forward, emphasis on self-respect. There is a very important emphasis here. Why? Because women with low self-esteem often find themselves in relationships with an abuser and a tyrant. That is, their self-esteem is initially low. Women who are very empathetic, they are so compassionate, they are very sensitive, they are ready to do everything for everyone, but only not for themselves. There is a category of women who think little of themselves. They may have been taught this way, perhaps by their parents in childhood, so she thinks, well, it's fine for me to be this way as long as he is happy. And often such women fall into the hands of a tyrant. So, nurture your self-esteem, learn to love yourself. It is quite possible that when you understand who you are, what do you really want from this life? How do you want to live your life in your life? Everything will fall into place. And when a woman starts to deal with her internal difficulties, her life can begin to transform dramatically. Next, plan your actions. That is, if this is a relationship with an abuser, a tyrant who does not raise his hand, I will repeat, a tyrant who is psychological. Also, create a plan that you will follow in your relationship with this man, and then observe whether the man is changing in relation to you, what is happening, and whether he accepts the new rules of the game. If not, then what will happen next? Write a lot. Write a lot on a piece of paper about what is happening in your relationships. By rereading, you will see the real picture of everything that is going on. Next, prioritize your safety. This is the most important thing. This safety can be psychological, emotional, or physical. You are the priority. You are the most important person in your life. You are the one who deserves happiness, love, attention, and understanding. And the priority should be on you and, of course, on your safety. Whether psychological, emotional, or physical, the priority is on you. If you feel that you are losing yourself in this relationship, if this relationship is destroying you, if you are afraid in this relationship, if you are suffering a lot, if you are in pain, think about it. Where are you right now? What place do you hold for yourself? Are you hurting yourself? Have you pushed yourself away somewhere far? And are you torturing yourself now? Ask yourself these questions. Why do you treat yourself this way? Perhaps the answers will come to you on their own. That's all for this video. This was Alice Vardonskaya. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Write in the comments what you would like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell, and goodbye everyone.